Welcome back, my friends, for the joyful celebration of visual storytelling. My name is Ben Granoff. I'm a cartoonist and educator, and I don't know all the answers, so I fully expect to be shamed, corrected. Join the conversation in the comments, my friends. This video is inspired by some chit-chat that I was having with two people. One is James Smith, the niece of Barry, and the other is my colorist, Morgan Hickman, who had never heard of this book. And I famously, I think I read this, but I have no idea what it's about other than the basic pitch. This is Barry Smith's The Freebooters. It came out of the Windsor Smith studio, early mid-90s, magazine-sized, Dark Horse. They fell out, didn't work out, box set, and then Fantagraphics put this and the Young Gods out, but Paradox Man is probably never to be seen. I got this for $10, $9, oh my God, at Forbidden Planet's sale rack. Forbidden Planet used to have the most amazing sale rack. Look at this beautiful cover. Beautiful Barry Rose. Wait till you see. $9 signed. What is this about? This is like, 2005, huh? It's like Dark Knight Returns for Batman. This image is it. It's overweight, middle-aged, coming out of retirement Conan. It's awesome. I'm not sure what this is maybe where it was headed. My sense, okay, so let me tell you that I haven't read this. I don't read my books. I did read this book. I don't read these large blocks of text because I don't know what the hell they're about. They're about things I don't know about. The floating shrimp, perhaps. This is so cool. Look at the way he renders these air balloons. So this is, anyway, I think that this first story in black and white, sort of like, it's the story of this young pilgrim fish out of water character who wants to, I guess he wants to go seek adventure and magic and sword and sorcery and all this, and eventually this like 16-page being mentored story out in the wilderness. Anyway, that's the whole first chapter. It's like he leaves his mentor and he's like, magic ain't the way. Dead bodies are where it's at. This guy's speaking German. Oh my gosh. Look at this, Barry in the weeds. You know it's a Barry when he's down in the weeds. So good. So I would love for anyone in the Barry Windsor Smith group to remind me what this story, the finer points of this story. My take on BWS's writing is that it's very dense, it's very good. Monsters was one of the best graphic novels I've ever read, one of the best stories I've ever read. And I'm so glad that we got, look at this, he walks such a great line between being like completely dead on serious and just slapstick. He's so funny. Anyway, if Monsters is the last book that we'll get by this fellow, and it was one of the finest comics I've ever read, then God bless. Anyway, he does like 25 pages in black and white, but the reason for the season of Axis meeting his little sidekick, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then I guess this ends and the guy walks away, destiny awaits. So the focus of this like prototype story remains on this guy. And then this is what it becomes, I suppose, in Storyteller. And the reason I want to talk about it is because these colors, which I don't have the language. Who does? God, these colors are so cool. He had an assistant on this? I don't know. I don't know everything. That's the new YouTube, authenticity. I don't know, you tell me. Look at this. Look at the way it just, the watercolor just washes and sits and pops. The way, like, in the, I don't know, the backlighting has all these cool colors bounce from the rest of the forest. The light from the city bounces onto the trees and then back onto the horse, I suppose. I remember when I was taking painting, when we talked about skin tone, the discussion in college, the discussion was all about like, oh, there's all these cool colors that you don't think about that are present in skin as light bounces off of it. I was like, oh, That always stuck with me, but I do not know what that means. So Morgan, hello, Morgan. Morgan, you're such a great colorist. I'm so happy to show this to you. A lot of our conversations about coloring have been about like palette and tone, limiting the palette. And I feel like as we've done more and more work together, as the palette has gotten more limited, it's really honed in on a really great feel. So I am delighted and honored to have a colorist, and for that person to be the talented Morgan Hickman. Not just a colorist, a crack cartoonist. Anyway, look at the way... I feel like... All right. Nerds, you tell me. Is there an assistant coloring this stuff? I did speak recently to Maurice Fontenot, who talked about blue line coloring BWS stuff at Valiant. I ran into him in my neighborhood of all places. But I don't know if this is BWS alone or not. This is really a magnificently colored panel. I love the way this band of yellow, like how it's very instructive. Like this highlight is surrounded by this band of yellow that sort of fades into flesh tone towards this dark shadow. Very cool. So anyway, I just wanted to show this off. I'm not going to show the whole book. If this is a well-written and hilarious story worth reading, on par with Monsters, you'll let me know. Perhaps I'll read not just the pictures, but the words. I find it so dense that reading it is a challenge. I had a false start with Monsters, not necessarily because of the density, but because of how dark it was. It was so dark. I just like wanted to you just want to give this guy a hug. It's so sad. Excuse me. The Raymond Peacock. This is a very more cocky name of a pub. Anyway, this is the bar. I guess this is the Axis's bar. Right. Axis holds court, tells stories, and then there's also a show. It's like a, not Disney World, but there's like a dinner theater where like an actor will play Axis, right? And so the time that they spend at the bar, look at this, definitely goes into their, red monochrome storytelling, and then back out again of the time that they had to do whatever it is with this hot air balloon, type thing. This book is, you can see where it's going. You can see that they're putting the focus, so now it's coming back to where it started with the fish out of water POV type stuff. But then it very quickly is here's the big, were you expecting an antagonist? Here he is. And then I remember that it seemed like before this could develop to where it needed to go in the next however many 100 pages remain, that perhaps Storyteller was canceled and it wasn't able to come to fruition. The greatest of all time. Look at all these watercolor layers. It's so instructive, but so sophisticated. I'd never have the nerve to do a watercolor study to recreate some of this. Maybe I could, I don't know. Who do you want to study? The people that I want to study the most and never do, Eric Powell. I did some Barry Smith. Will Eisner's always very good. I feel like you always learn something about the way the muscles in the faces work by studying Will Eisner. I've been really trying to be as observant as possible to cheeks and cheek lines and sort of where mouths and cheeks and eyeballs interact. I think that's where a lot of the expression comes from. And then I think this is the end. Is this the end of the book? No. Oh, no, there's more. There's much more. So anyway, they saddle up. Amon Gra is... all right, so this guy, he's going to raise this horrible beast. Look at this magic scene. This is fantastic. Barry Smith with a page turn reveal. Boom, shakalaka. The fire of hell forming this beast from the rib cages inside out. This is it. choices on this. This is so cool. This is the one to study. Very instructive because the red light's here, and then you got like a more, you know, purpley naturally light. But I guess there's a rainbow reflected in here. That's so cool. Look at the way these pieces sort of get defined by the yellow and green. Top side, bottom side lighting. So cool. I love it. Boop, yeah, there's the... It's like, you know what the vibe is like? It's like The Sopranos. Or maybe this might be more intentionally funny than The Sopranos. I don't know, it's hard to say. This is Tony Soprano. This is 5 years before that show came out. 5-6 years before the show, I suppose. His POV as the birds come in. This is a sequence. This should be studied, the way this sequence works. For motion. Things moving towards the POV, things moving away from the camera. That Z-axis I talk about all the time when I'm teaching. I teach storyboarding, and it should be understood that my students are on a complete range of ability, wherein some of them are physically unable to draw, and some of them draw circles around me easily, and either they're either young and not in practice enough to know it, or they're always very humble about it, or they don't show up. So those are the outcomes. Those are the educational outcomes in my class. Look at the way oh my God, see, this is it. The way that he uses the wet on wet to creep up. You must be angling, right? And maybe it's not that you're angling the paper, it's that I mean, you could be, I suppose. It's that you start here in this. I can't point. You start in the center, knowing that it's going to fade up and around this way. That's a pretty masterful move. These clouds are quite nice. They might be. It's not wet on wet, but there's like some moist blending going on. Anyway, it keeps going. They go on their adventure. Axis finally gets his helmet on. They go on their adventure. They finally get in one of these. They're finally in real time in one of these airship things. The asshole. Oh, Barry. Barry, if you're watching, I love you. That's very nice. This guy coated in blood. Look at his feathers go right back. Very cool. Very BWS type design. Oh, there's more. And then, jeez. So it like kind of like keeps going, but doesn't ever feel completed. But that doesn't matter because the images are so incredible. The images tell a story. The images tell a very satisfying story. I feel like, you know, if you compare this to Monsters, you can see where the added decades help out. I like this character. I feel like this is a character who's, I either drew this, or I used his design, or I've seen him in like a Gorblimey press type print. He's a very standard Smith casting type guy. That's a nice expression. It keeps going. Maybe 9 issues? Yeah, this might be the 9th and final chapter, I suppose. 9 issues of BWS Storyteller were printed. I only have... Ooh, that's very saturated. Yeah, and then there's like text pieces that like run interstitial. So this is obviously the history. I should just read this. Well, if I have questions, I should read the book in front of me. I did read the book. I read the pictures. This is so funny. Yeah. But it's just like, this must have been a space where there was a house ad or a transition or something from BWS Storyteller. So you just gotta fill the space. I guess that makes sense. Look at this coloring. Huh. Highlight on his nose. Protect certain areas to keep them light as possible. Well, that was Fantagraphics Chapter 11. Jesus, how many chapters? I thought there was... Oh, did the comics go all the way to the end? I was mistaken. I thought there was like 60 pages of full-up text. Maybe I should read this book. Anyway. I looked at it so now I'll have the sense of memory if the book ever gets destroyed. I'll always know that I held it in my hands this one time. Like Von Bodie, I'm a Cheech Wizard. Never quitting, so won't you listen? Join the conversation. I love interacting, participating in comics culture. Semper Comics. Good day.